by telling us that God is dead. And they tried to fool the black population by telling us that God is dead. Him not dead.
No.
Him not dead. 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 No. No. God is not dead. I is God. Him not dead. Him not dead. Him not dead. No. See, spirit never dies, it resides in the hearts and minds of those who continue to see the vision. I said, spirit never dies, it resides in the hearts and...
Greetings, listening audience. This is Black Star Line 9 time, and I'm your host coming from Washington, D.C., Baba Senghor. Brother Clyde is traveling. He may join us. He's not in Chicago. He's actually in St. Thomas, but we have a special show lined up. Let me make a couple of quick announcements real quick, and then we're going to get right into it. This weekend, Friday, May the 4th, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m., the place to be is at the Davis Center, 6218 3rd Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. Harambee Radio's 14th anniversary, Part 1, featuring the Malcolm X drummers and dancers, Master C, Ross D, an African marketplace, food sales, and we'll talk about the new Black Learning Channel, and we might show some videos, I don't know, but we will be videoing. Harambee programmers will be there. Yours truly, Delani Amon, and me will be there along with others. It's free to the black community of Washington, D.C. Donations are welcome. If you need more information, you can call 202-256-2518. Part 2 is Saturday, same venue, 6218 3rd Street Northwest, the famous Davis Center here in Washington, D.C., featuring none other than the president CEO of Harambee Radio and TV. All eyes on D.C. with Brother Sam Collins, and none other than one of the guests that I'm going to have tonight, actually both of the guests that I'm going to have tonight, Nannie Helen Burroughs and my dear tender love, Kathy English Holt. It'll be an African marketplace. We'll talk about the Black Learning Channel, various different Harambee hosts. We're giving out about 50 appreciation awards, and also it'll be a party with a purpose with Brother DJ Cliff of Kuumba Report, formerly of Harambee Radio, and that event is going to cost $10 donation per individual. Then on Sunday, we have a very special event. We're going to talk a little more about this in the program tonight. A Sunday kind of love. To benefit iThings to collard greens, summer camp for girls, love, it's a family affair, May the 6th, 2018 at 3 p.m. at the Mount Rainier Artist Loft, 3311 Rhode Island Avenue, Mount Rainier, Maryland. It's Brother Free and Ayana, Sister Free and Ayana Gregory, sound, Kathy English Holt, and also Nannie Helen Burroughs will be showing up, Ivy Hilton, Camilla Jean, and quite a few others. DJ Lance Reynolds will be spinning, and Brother Johannes will be, Dick Gregory's son, will be the MC. You can definitely listen to the show tonight and get more detailed information. Without any further ado, I am so happy to have Kathy English Holt here on the show tonight, and we're going to talk a little bit about the iThings to Collard Greens Park for Our Children's Summer Camp for Girls going into its 7th year. So without any further ado, she's really not a guest. She's really, I call her a guest because she brought a friend with her, Nannie Helen Burroughs, but actually Mama Kathy is a family member of Harambee. Hey, welcome to the airways. Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you, Senghor and Delani, for having me on this evening. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, and Brother Clyde, he might be chiming in with us. He's the co-host of the show. But without any further ado, Kathy, tell us, how did you come into the concept of iThings to Collard Greens for Girls?
Okay, well, around, I guess it was probably about just maybe at the turn of the century, 2000, I began to, begin to experience some serious health challenges. And fortunately, for me, and thanks to you, after the election of Barack Obama in 2004, was it 2004? Yeah. I was able to go away and take 2008, excuse me. I was able to take a sabbatical to South Carolina at Medisage Retreat, which is owned by your spiritual brother, Swami Gyan Kirti, also formerly known as Ronald Abdullah. Medisage, 135-acre retreat site down in the sand hills of South Carolina, an hour outside of Charlotte, was a space that we had visited together a few times, and at one visit there, a wonderful retreat with brothers and sisters from all over the country, I had kind of like a breakthrough and kind of declared that I was going to be a demonstration of God's healing. And so after that, I kind of made a decision that I needed to get away. And with your encouragement and the encouragement of others, I made the trip to Medisage, where I stayed for 5 months, periodically coming back here to D.C. And while there, I spent a lot of time, doing what we do at retreat centers in loving service, cooking and cleaning and working in the garden and working in the chicken coop and, making up beds and sweeping and vacuuming. But it's a meditation center, so I spent at least 2 hours in meditation every day. The land was beautiful. I would walk the land every day, get some exercise. And I happened to take a book with me by a woman named Karen Davis. It was her PhD dissertation on the upliftment of women, looking at the works of Nannie Helen Burroughs and her teacher, Anna Julia Cooper. So reading that book opened up my eyes considerably to Sister Burroughs, because living in D.C., we all knew her name, because if you drive over in the far northeast Deanwood community of Washington, you see Nannie Helen Burroughs Avenue, and many of us were aware that she was an educator, but I was not aware of just who she was, the impact she had on the lives of women during the early 1900s, and the work that she did around the world for the upliftment of black people. And so taking this book with me and reading it every day and doing the work that I was doing, which was really domestic work in a retreat center, I found myself thinking about her quite a bit and thinking about the women and girls that she impacted. So there's a spot that's up the top on a hill that I would go to periodically, and one day I was up there and meditating and looking out at this big creek that runs through the property. And I happened to turn around, and in my mind's eye, I saw a group of girls in a circle playing Ring Around the Rosie, dancing and singing. And I heard a voice of the spirit of Nannie Helen Burroughs say to return me to my relevance. And so I went back to the house and I began to just sit with those words, return me to my relevance. And so upon returning here at spring, in April of the following year, 2009, I began to sit with women, primarily my mentor, Beatrice Davis Williams, who is the owner of the Davis Center, where so many of the cultural activities occur in this city, thanks to you, Senghor, and others. Sit with her and another friend of mine, Cheryl Shoemake, and put in concept the idea, for me, simply having a retreat for girls. So the idea was to have a retreat for girls in the summer. And I went on and wrote a one-woman play about Nannie Helen Burroughs in my own attempt to return her to her relevance. During that period of time, Beatrice Davis Williams, who also she's the founder of the Davis Center, but she also happened to be the executive director of Arts for Our Children, which is a nonprofit organization she founded as an offshoot of the Davis Center. And Arts for Our Children did some things for kids in her program, take them to cultural events and expose them to more dance and music and that sort of thing. And it had sponsored a couple of camps. But I really saw it as the vehicle for doing the work that I wanted to do. And Ms. Davis Williams happened to come across a grant from the D.C. Children's Youth and Investment Trust for a summer camp. And we decided to go ahead and write a proposal and submit for the grant. So we did this all at the same time while I was preparing the play and having a conversation with other women. I had a large gathering with about maybe 12 women about the thought that I had, and about having girls go to South Carolina and do loving service work there, but in addition to that, do meditation and yoga and sing and dance and work in the farm and work in the chicken coop and take hikes and really see some of Charlotte and have some cultural experiences there. My girlfriend, Sheila Clark, who I grew up with, we've been friends since first kindergarten, she started thinking about a name, and she came up with iThings to Collard Greens, which was really catchy and represented our attempts to take girls from the technology that they were so absorbed in back to nature, back to some of the basics that I learned going to visit my grandparents in the South. And most of the women in my generation who grew up in major cities, we would go to our families' home places in the summers and be with the elders, and that is where we learned a lot about how to take care of a home, how to take care of ourselves, cooking, being still, just being in service. So we came up with that beautiful name, and it stuck. Well, we applied for the grant, and little did we know we would receive the grant. So the idea of a 1-week or 2-week retreat enrichment experience grew into, at that time, a 6-week summer day camp. And we had to develop the curriculum, and we did. And that's how it all came to be. It came from an illness and my opportunity to take these lemons and turn them into lemonade and do the work that this incredible ancestral spirit, Nannie Helen Burroughs, asked me to do, which was to return her to her relevance. So that's how it came into being.
So let's talk a little bit about the curriculum. What do the girls what do you do for the girls in the camp?
Well, our mission is to really help girls to develop their full and true womanhood. That's what our goal is, and to address the whole girl, her mind, her body, and her spirit. I've been in the healing health business for 25 years, as a massage therapist, Reiki master, hypnotherapist, and now as a minister. And so I find that my journey in healing for myself and as I work with my clients has been to address the whole person, not to deal with just one aspect of them, which is why my practice grew from just body work to really working with mind and spirit. And so that's how the approach that I took when it comes to working with the girls, recognizing that it is the girls who've developed into women whose ultimate responsibility is to raise the children and take care of the elders. And so how do we do that? The first thing is having an awareness of, and this is just my perspective, and I'm not asking everybody to agree with me, but awareness of the source energy that guides everything that we do. So dealing with spirit, dealing with their emotional well-being, helping them to internalize a positive self-definition, and then also dealing with their physicality, the issues that girls have around, in this area in particular, with lack of exercise due to the limitations of physical education in the school system, their inability to have proper diet, which is increasing obesity amongst girls in the city, their willingness too quickly to look to other substances for satisfaction, be it sugar or salt, drugs, medications, and returning them to some of the things that we, meaning women of my generation, did when we were growing up for games and sports, getting off of the technology, the phones and the iPads, and doing things like jumping rope and playing jacks and playing hopscotch and playing dodgeball and swimming and running and just being children. So the curriculum is like this. We begin our day in circle, all the girls and all the staff who are there at that time. And circle begins at 9 o'clock. But prior to circle, when those girls who may come in early, they can eat their breakfast, and then they also get the opportunity to play. So we have jump rope, so they can jump rope. They can jump double dutch or single rope. We have jacks for them to play. We have card games for them to play. We have board games for them to play. Hopscotch, they can go outside and play dodgeball, tag, that sort of thing. So we have old school kind of games for them to play after they eat their breakfast, and then we form a circle where everybody comes together. Because the girls are divided into groups by age group, named after specific ancestors. So the younger girls who are 5 and 6 are the Miss Marys, named after Mary McLeod Bethune. The girls who are a little bit older, 7, 8, 9, are Miss Maggies, named after Maggie Lena Walker, who was the first first woman to own a bank in the United States, and she happened to be black in Richmond, Virginia. Mary McLeod Bethune, as we well know, was an educator. She was quite a political focus, too, for black women, and she happened to found Bethune-Cookman College. So Miss Marys are 5 and 6. Maggie Lena Walkers, Miss Maggies are the next great ages up, 7 and 8. And then the 9 and 10-year-olds are named after Dorothy Height, who, again, was quite a civic leader, an activist, and political force for black women, and who is also an ancestor. And then the older girls, 11 to 13, are Miss Nannies, named for Nannie Helen Burroughs. But they all come together for Morning Circle, which is between 9 and 10. Morning Circle is where we have their affirmations. They have a different affirmation every day. They state their affirmation for the day in group, and we have conversation about it. Morning Circle is where we have meditation. We teach them meditation, silent meditations. We teach them meditations, guided meditations. We teach them meditation using music. They also do some walking meditation. So we really help them kind of get focused and quiet their soul a little bit and kind of come in. The Morning Circle is also where we do some movement. The girls love line dances, so we teach them line dances, and they get to exercise a little bit as a group. And then the other thing that we do is work with them on different attributes that they need to hone in on for their development of their character. So we deal with compassion and forgiveness and gratitude and love and peace and healing, and these different attributes to help them develop their character, who they are, how can they be in the world so they're not so angry and upset. How can they find peace within themselves and therefore radiate peace outward? The challenges that our young people have in the home and in the school and in society at large are so huge compared to what I remember growing up with. And I really want them to understand that they can develop mechanisms and ways to work through these challenges and stay on the positive so that they do not become angry and bitter young girls, which then turn into angry and bitter young women. And then the other thing that we do with the girls, which we start on the very first day, thanks to ADASI, which is the African Diaspora Ancestral Commemoration Institute, is that they learn how to build an altar. So we do altar work. They build a beautiful altar to the ancestors, which we honor in camp, and with items that girls and women have used since the beginning of time. Build beautiful altar, and then we also ask them to bring in items, pictures from ancestors, women that they have had in their lives, be it their grandmothers, their aunties, sisters. Some of them have had their mothers transition, and they get to share a little bit about their family member or friend who has passed on, and we put an item of theirs on the altar. And then they do altar work every week. I teach the girls, about libation, how we do it in the African tradition. And, of course, this has been a journey, and I've had to recognize that, we come from one space, but there are many people who are new to this, and I'll never forget a year when a mother walked in and had a real concern about libation. And I had to share with her, she was concerned because where did Jesus fit into this? And, I politely and lovingly shared with her that Jesus was an ancestor and that we could feel free to call his name as well when we poured libation. And, she accepted that. She accepted that. So I see parents and guardians growing along with us, just as their children are growing along with us, as we introduce them to concepts and teachings that many of us may take for granted, recognizing that our girls come from communities which may not have some of the same awarenesses. So altar work is a part of the morning circle as well. And then we plan for the day, and we work through some problems, and they get to practice forgiveness and talk about issues that have come up in their home or whatever. And then we make sure that we have time to deal with current events and how they affect girls and women throughout the world. So, of course, when the 200 girls were kidnapped by Boko Haram in Nigeria, this was a major conversation that we had. We had major conversations around the girls who have been missing here in Washington, D.C., and how do we deal with that? How do we deal with our own safety? And how do we remember and keep in the public eye the girls who've been missing in our community? We've also, of course, dealt with the nomination of the first woman on a major party to be up for running for president, and how that felt and looked. We've dealt with a lot of the issues that have gone on in India and Pakistan and other places with girls. The young girl who, Malia, I think is her name, the acid was thrown on her face because she wanted to go to school. We talk about the issues that girls have been dealing with from the beginning of time and how some things change, but some things continue to remain the same. So Circle is a time of upliftment. It's a time of bringing them together as a group before they break into their separate cohorts with their, to their respective classes. So the classes, as I said, we deal with mind, body, and spirit. So their movement classes include yoga. They have dance, African dance, and drumming. And they also do ballet and modern dance. The girls have also had exposure to Qigong. We had Qigong for one entire summer, and then we've had guests come in, do Qigong workshops with them. So that's the movement component of it. The girls also do some old school things like what Ms. Burroughs had in her school. They learn how to sew. We have sewing machines, so we have a sewing teacher. They begin the process of learning how to cut out patterns and cut out the fabric, how to use a sewing machine. The younger girls use hand needles so that they can learn how to put in a hem, sew on a button. Many of our girls have never done that. There is a a problem in our society, I think, with many young people. They buy inexpensive clothing, and as soon as something happens, a button falls off or a hem comes out, they throw it away and go buy something else. So we're trying to get them to understand that things can be repaired and used, and these items can be worn over and over again. So they hem, they sew on buttons, they learn the basics of a sewing machine, and they make an item so that they can share that at the end of the camp closing program. The girls also knit. The older girls really love to knit. I'd say those who are like 9 on up, knitting has become the biggest thing. It's becoming more and more popular, we see, but we were like the first 7 years ago who really kind of put that in the curriculum. So they knit, and they also do crochet. Music is a big part of it. They sing. Their teacher, Free Benjamin, who is actually the person who putting on this event on Sunday, she's their music teacher, and she's also taught them art last year. She combines music and art. They compose songs, they sing the songs, and they do art based around their music. So, and then we also have a component around nutrition, which you have taught, Sangor, so they can understand proper nutrition. And last year, the past 2 years, we've had Dr. Tilly Williams, who is a naturopathic physician, work with them on basic health and wellness issues, not just the rudimentary stuff that we know about, cleaning your wounds with peroxide and bandages and that sort of thing. But we also taught them energy work, chakras, about what the chakras are, and other systems of healing that may not be so familiar in the States, but which are used in other places and are becoming more familiar here, so that they can understand how the body is made. They deal with bones and skeletons and all that, but they also deal with the energetic systems of the body. So that's a little bit about, and they go swimming every Friday, and we have special workshops that we expose them to.
Also, you have a writing of poetry.
Oh, yes, and we also have poetry. Dean Watson, who is their poetry teacher. Poetry teacher, they write poetry. They do etiquette. They have etiquette classes. They learn how to set a table. They learn how to write proper thank you notes, how to address envelopes properly. Like I said, proper table setting. We've had cooking classes, so they learn how to prepare food and how to serve the food and how to eat at a table. And they have gardening. They've done gardening. We actually 1 year grew some cotton. And so we've had gardening and then beautification in the community service, planting flowers in the flower boxes on the street where we hold the camp. They visited with other businesses in the community, and the other businesses in the community have supported us. We have a woman across the street who has owned a hat shop, I'd say probably over 50 years, Mrs. Bean, and so she's donated hats to the girls. We've had Peaches Restaurant down the street. She did a modified menu for the girls so they could have an inexpensive, the counselors who we use for the Marion Barry Summer Youth Employee Program. She's worked with them to accommodate their budget so that they can actually afford to eat lunch in the community. And so we have a lot of support from different businesses and different individuals. And primarily, though, it's the women in the community that I have come to know since I've been back in D.C. for 31 years who have really helped prop up this camp. Mama Davis, Mama Cheryl, and all of the teachers have been phenomenal, and most of them have been women that Mama Cheryl and I have known in our paths. Mama Cheryl and I participated in a camp many, many years ago. She was the camp director, and I helped out there, and so it's just like we've come full circle in creating this camp for the girls with your help and all the other people who have contributed their time, their energy, and their resources as we prepare to move into our 7th year.
So, Kathy, moving into the 7th year, and before we bring on our other guests, because I definitely want to get to her, but let the listeners know that are listening to this how they can be of help, and then tell them the website they can go to or the GoFundMe site. people know how they can be of assistance and why we need their assistance.
Okay. So, as I said, this is number 7, which is a very, critical number. In the past, 4 out of the 6 years, we have applied for money through the D.C. Children's Youth and Investment Trust. And 3 of those past 6 years, the monies came directly from the trust. Our proposal was accepted. We received full funding. It was wonderful. The D.C. Children's Youth and Investment Trust, due to some challenges with leadership, in addition to some mismanagement by some grantees, was dissolved. And the monies that come from the District of Columbia were put in the hands of United Way. Last year, United was the first year that we had to go through United Way to receive funding, and we did. We received funding, not an issue. Well, this year we wrote the same, program, grant, and all of that, making some modifications based on some of the changes that they requested. And this is the first year that we have applied for money that we have not received it. And so this presents a challenge for us. But I see it not so much as a challenge as more of an opportunity. And so we are really doing now what it is that Ms. Burroughs had to do when she founded her school and did not receive the assistance of the entities that she expected to assist her to create her school and have it stay open. And that is, we are appealing to our community to help us raise the monies to have the camp for the girls who cannot afford to pay tuition. Historically, our girls pay $50 for a 6-week or a 5-week summer program. $50 in its entirety. And the remainder, we make it work with the grant funds. We ask families if they're able to donate $100 to the nonprofit. That's great. But if they can't, we do not refuse their girls. So this year, we are having to, at this point, charge per week, still a nominal fee, $100 a week. But we are asking the community to please support us in our fundraisers, but also to go to our website, iThings, iThings, the number 2, Collard, COLLARD, Greens, GREENS.org. And you can donate through that site on PayPal. Or you can send, these are tax-deductible donations, or you can send a check made out to Arts for Our Children, Inc., and mail it to care of Kathy English Holt at 1400 Ingraham, INGRAHAM Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20011. Arts for Our Children, Inc., 1400 Ingraham Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20011. We are asking for contributions, small or large, so that we can continue to serve the girls in our community. We serve on the average 45 to 50 girls each summer. As I said, most of these girls are unable to pay for summer camps. This is something that they have been doing every year, matriculating through. Many of our girls have gone through who become summer youth employees and stay with us because they love the experience. These girls develop a sisterhood and a bond that transcends the summer program but continues throughout the year. We want to continue to have them to continue to have this experience. In addition to receiving funds that way, we do have a GoFundMe page, which can be found on iThings to Collard Green's Facebook page, or it can be found on my page, Kathy English Holt. It can be found on Senghor Baye's page. That GoFundMe page is also there, and the proceeds are going to our Children, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are also beginning a campaign, a legacy campaign, which is coming through from the spirit of Nannie Helen Burroughs and Alma Lee, who is one of our administrators. This campaign, which we will kick off on May 15th, is honoring 15 women who are ancestors who have made significant contributions to the lives of people here in the District of Columbia and the surrounding area, and then 15 women who are still living who have made significant contributions. And we are building teams who can raise $1,500 in that woman's name, and then we will be composing a book highlighting these women, a photograph and a bio, and then people who want those books can place orders. And this is how we can continue to uplift these memories of these women and uplift the work of these women, so girls will know who these women are long after they leave camp. They will have an idea of some of the significant women in Washington. Our city, D.C., is changing rapidly with gentrification and other things that are going on. The memories of the community women need to be stamped on the minds of our young people. If we don't do it, they will be forgotten. And so we need to capture this stuff digitally, by video, put it on websites, but also I like paper. So there can be books that people can go to and see some of the images and the works that women have done in the D.C. community, women of color. So these are how we're raising money in addition to this event on Sunday, and then also we'll have our major yard sale that we will be doing the third weekend in June.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Kathy, if you don't mind, would you see if Nannie Helen Burroughs is around, because I would love to speak to her, and I know she's an ancestor, but I know she has power to come visit us. So is it possible that you could reach out? Is she nearby?
Yeah, let me check and make sure she's available, okay? 1 second.
Sure.
Sister Nannie? Greetings. Hello, how are you this evening?
Oh, hi, Nannie. How are you?
I'm well. Who am I speaking with?
This is Senghor, and I want you to tell us what your vision is, what you think about what's going on with the camp and what Kathy has been able to achieve.
Well, thank you, Mr. Senghor. It is a pleasure to hear your voice. You sound like you are just a darling man. I am so grateful to be able to be with you and dropping down from the heavenly realm for a few moments to share with you my impressions about the work that Ms. Holt is doing. We are most delighted on the other side, me and my dear sister friends Mary McLeod Bethune and Maggie Lena Walker and Dorothy Height, Ida B. Wells, Mary Church Terrell, my teacher Anna Julia Cooper. There are so many of us who are so aware of the good works of Ms. Holt, the summer camp, and also the good works of Colonel Jim Wyatt, who is a significant person doing the Nannie Helen Burroughs project here in D.C. So we're delighted because, you know, I founded my school in 1909. At the time, I only had 30 girls. They came from the United States, the Caribbean, and also Africa. So I opened this little school, and I went on to educate thousands of girls from 1909 until I made my transition in 1961. And then that school continued, changing its name from the name I gave it, the National Training Institute for Girls, National Industrial School for Girls, to the Nannie Helen Burroughs School. I find that as I look down and I see what is going on right now with our young girls and our young women, that it is imperative that we go back to some of the basics. My basics were the 3 B's, which was the Bible, the broom, and the bathtub. representing a clean mind, a clean body, a clean spirit, and a clean home. So I believe that the work that she is doing is an attempt to revive that without the Christian tradition of which I was so much a part of, but really looking at a broader perspective that is non-denominational, but has to do more with the spiritual aspect of who we are as people. The other part of this, which I am completely fascinated with, is her intention and the camp's intention on dwelling on developing the character and the culture of our girls. Our girls are responsible for building civilizations, as you well know. And without their culture and their character being in place, how can they even begin to raise children who have pride in themselves? A big part of my experience with teaching girls had to do with them knowing their own history. It was very important for Negro history to be the first thing that they got when they walked in there. And I'm very grateful to my dear friend, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who provided books from his library and books that he had written so that my girls could study the history of their people. This aspect is also being continued on in the camp, iThings to Collard Greens. The girls have periods where they do nothing but read and they write. And in their poetry classes and the other classes that they take, they're always being reminded of the significant contributions of African American people to the different areas that they are studying. Our history is steeped in the camp, and for this I am also grateful. I'm also aware that Ms. Holt has been able periodically to take some of the girls away to the country. I grew up in Virginia, a little town named Orange near Culpeper in the Piedmont region of Virginia. So I find it very important that our young people who are now very urbane and stuck in the cities periodically go and get some fresh air and be on the land and be aware of the animals that dwell on the land, the cows and the chickens and the horses, the goats and the pigs, and just see how it feels to be on the land with animals, to be on the land and breathing fresh air, to be on the land and at night hear water run down a creek, to be on the land and be able to walk it, to take an opportunity and have a shovel in your hand. And yes, you may have to shovel up a little manure to put it in the garden, but that's not going to hurt anybody. It's good for our girls to know how to actually take a sheet and fold it properly. Take a sheet and unfold it and put it on a clean bed. It's good for them to know how to make their own green cleaning products. In my day, we always used vinegar and lemon juice and linseed oil, and I think it's important now that we return to these things because we can see what's happening to our environment. So that's a part of what she's doing in the camp as well, teaching the girls about green cleaning and recycling and giving them an opportunity to learn how to put their hands in the dirt, see where food comes from. Many of our children think food grows in the grocery store. They have no idea where it's coming from. They don't even know that a banana grows on a tree, or that an orange grows on a tree, or that a potato comes from the ground. Onions come from the ground. These are basic things that children knew, but now they have forgotten. So we're bringing all of that back to them and through this camp. So for all of this, I'm very grateful. I'm very, very grateful.
Wow, Nannie, I'm just so happy that you could join us. You have a birthday coming up soon, don't you?
I certainly do. Tomorrow is my birthday, May 2nd. I was born May 2nd, 1879 in Orange, Virginia, and so I must give honor to my parents, my mother, Jenny Poindexter, and my father, John Burroughs. As you well know, they've been gone for a long, long time, and I had a little sister who also passed. But I had a wonderful life. I stayed down in Culpeper area till I was 4 years old, 5 years old, and my mother brought me here to Washington, D.C. because she wanted me to go to school here. At the time, there was very little opportunity for good education in that part of the country, the countryside, and she knew I could do better if she brought me here to Washington. So we came here, and I lived with my auntie and my mom, and I went to school, and I graduated from Dunbar High School, which was then known as the M Street School. And my teachers, I had Anna Julia Cooper and Mary Church Terrell as my teachers. And it was from that place that I decided I wanted to become a teacher myself, and I was unable to get a job at the D.C. public schools. As a colored woman, I was a very brown woman, and that was something that was they had an issue around, I believe, that I couldn't pass that brown paper bag test, and therefore I was not able to get a position in the D.C. public schools. But that did not deter me. I went on and I did work in missionary society and Christian church environments, and then I went on and opened up a women's club down in a house in Louisville, Kentucky. And it was there that I made it my mind that I was going to come back to Washington, and I was really going to make a difference and see whether I could start a school. So in 1901, I happened to deliver a speech to the National Baptist Convention on how the women are hindered from helping. And I'm thinking that the National Baptist Convention is going to help me help women while I tried to fund a school, and they did not support me at all. But out of that speech, we were able to form the Women's Auxiliary, which went on and became an organization with over 1 million women, starting with only 300. And those women were the primary ones that helped me keep my school open over the years. And so I am thankful that Ms. Holt and others in the organization have decided to really look to the community. Because, you know, we can become too attached to these organizations thinking that they owe us something. They don't owe you anything. You go to the people who you serve, and you have them know what you're doing. And then you make an expectation that they will understand the importance of your work. And in that, so doing that, they can put their money where their mouth is. And so even if it's just a few dollars here and there, we ask for support. We expect to receive support because we know, first, our support comes from the Most High God. And from there, everything is possible. So I'm sure that she will be fine this year. The organization will continue to grow. They will receive the funds that they receive. And that this new way of moving and shaking after the 6 years of the camp, things will begin to turn around, and they will not need to look to these major donors for money, but they can look to their own communities and other individuals, because we have quite a few individuals within our community who have all the money that we need to get anything done that we need to have done.
That's right. I know that's right. Well, look, Nannie, I really appreciate you taking time out to come with Harambee tonight on Black Star Line 9 Time. But we'll be blessed with your presence to come on Saturday with us for our 14th anniversary. And we'll be celebrating your birthday as well. And then also we will be blessed to see you again at a Sunday Kind of Love. So
thank you,
Nannie. And we love you, Nannie, and we will always keep you in a relevant way in this world because your work is relevant to what work we need to be doing today. So I want to thank Kathy, and I want to say goodbye to Kathy. But, Nannie, we'll see you this weekend. You know,
yes, you will, and thank you so much, Mr. Senghor. And you please have a wonderful evening and enjoy the work that you are doing because you are making such a big difference. And my dear brother Marcus Garvey says to let you know he's thinking about you and uplifting you and all the work that you're continuing to do in his name and in the name of so many other ancestors. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, Kathy, are you still around? We got a last 10 minutes. I want to talk to you a little bit more. Thank you for bringing Nannie in to us. We really appreciate that because Nannie has inspired us a great deal. And we know our ancestors in the African tradition are very much living in the spirit of the ancestral realm.
Yes, they are. They certainly are. And they want to be remembered. They want to be remembered. You know, and I think each one of us has a responsibility to identify an ancestor whose memory we can keep alive if it's possible. You know, they're there. They're all around. You know, all you have to do is just kind of be still and listen and see which one speaks to you and what message can you carry from them to the planet that we are on right now. Because there is no such thing as death. I think we all know that. Energy once created continues forever and ever and ever, and we are energetic beings. And so being energetic beings, we will always be, you know, I mean, Einstein said that. And so that ancestral energy is there for us if we just tap into it.
That's right. As above, so below. And as we say here on Black Star Line 9 Time, and the gift that the Most High has passed to me is that we all have blacktricity. And if we tap the blacktricity of the Most High and also our ancestors and our elders and those of us in between eldership and youth, and then pass that on to our youth, then we can take out this backwards world a lot quicker. So I really appreciate you. Now, I want you to let the listeners know one more time how they can get in contact with you and iThings to Collard Greens and how they can be of assistance to us, because we certainly, us black males, are very, very important to black women because we come through you. Without them, it would not be. So it's not like a situation of us and you. It's a situation of us together, rebuilding the family, coming back to what we were originally planned to be.
Right. So, so as I said, you can go to iThings to collardgreens.org, iThings, 2, collardgreens.org, and make a donation there. And if you don't like doing automatic donations, and through websites and all, some people don't like to do that, you can write a check to Arts for Our Children, Inc., and send it to Kathy English Holt at 1400 Ingraham, Ingraham Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20011. I also can be reached at kenglishholt@msn.com or 202-368-8721. So that's how you can donate. And like I said, we'll be sharing more about the Legacy campaign coming up in May, right after Mother's Day. And I'm just so grateful that you asked us to be on this evening.
Yes, I'm so grateful that you've taken time out in your healing work, as well as you are a part of Harambee, and we will be honoring you this coming weekend for all of the efforts that you've done, as well as many others, particularly organizations and people who have been a part of Harambee. So Harambee is just very excited, and I know Delani is also. And if Delani, you want to come back on the other side in these last 5 minutes and say anything to Kathy, please do. Black Star Line 9 Time is encouraging all you listeners that hear this live or hear the MP3 file later on, and we will probably post this up on YouTube so that you can hear it. You can come out and make your donations if you're in the DMV, Maryland, Virginia area on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday at any one of the events. You can do that afterwards. We will always need your support. We'd like to see the camp expand, so anything you can do or any ideas or recommendations that you may have, I want y'all all to know Harambee and Black Star Line 9 Time are part of the family. So it's very important for us to collaborate, consolidate, and ameliorate our own condition, and stop always complaining about all the things that are not going on right, and let's get busy doing the right things. That's why we say So, Clyde, you're in with us, Clyde. Anything you want to say?
Yes. I've been listening intently. Hello, my sister Kathy.
Hello, dear.
Thanks so much, for coming on the show. I've enjoyed every moment of this. You're doing a tremendous job with all of your works, particularly with the camp. And I just had a question with respect to some of the vocational ideas that Nannie Helen Burroughs had and training. With that said, I've been working with a sister here, and now she's moved to Atlanta on upholstery and teaching young sisters how to work with that. Do you think that could be potentially incorporated into the summer curriculum?
It certainly could. Any things that have to do with working with your hands is what we're really trying to encourage our girls to do. And that is an excellent, and Nannie Helen Burroughs, she may have even had upholstery in the school, but she certainly taught the girls how to make shoes. They had a cobbler set up where they learned how to make shoes, in addition to having a laundry facility. They did the laundry for the White House, the Hoover White House. All of their clothes and stuff went to her laundry. But anything that the girls can do with their hands, because it gives them a finished product. They're spending so much time with these devices that they don't even know how to do anything with their hands anymore, other than just keystrokes all the time. But that would be an excellent idea. I remember being a little girl in school that we actually, in after-school care, people were doing upholstery. And I think Kent Singleton learned as a young man how to do upholstery.
I'm sorry, y'all, but y'all stepped right in my area. That's one of the trades that I have, ability.
Right.
So we'll talk about that, Clyde. Yes, sir, Don.
You are allowed to go over. You know that, though. You're the boss. How's everybody doing? Hotep, Hawaii, Ghani, Alafia?
Great. I'll allow you some time to talk to Kathy, too, even though you'll be with us this weekend, sir, for our 14th anniversary.
Well, you know, it's very important that Kathy gets to hear what I got to say right now, which is I want to say a big old D.C. thank you for you and her both being up in the D.C. area, me being so far away, having to come up there, and everything is being handled, you know, in my absence, and I think that's the mark of things going well. When I don't even think about it, I spend my days waiting to come up there. And I know Kathy's in the house, and you're in the house, and it's going to be a good weekend. So I want to thank y'all publicly for getting a lot of this stuff done that I couldn't possibly handle. And, you know, I've had a long 12 months dealing with my vision and all that, which has come around finally, and I'm able to drive and get around. And I told somebody recently that I'm 62, and I've been wearing glasses since I was 12 years old, and I can now go out without my glasses for the first time. So after being called four eyes all my life, I can go out and people say, man, I can see your eyes, you know, because no one really has seen my eyes unless you got to be real close. So I want to thank y'all for getting it done, and I'm going to get on the dance floor and do my dance when I'm up there.
All right, good for you, Delani. I'm glad to hear that. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So, Clyde, I would like to know about the sister who's doing upholstery because, you know, industrial education it needs to come back. It has to come back because a lot of our girls are not going to be able to go to college, not the way we did, you know. And they're going to have a trade. They have to have trades.
Yes. Over the last few weeks, we've been working with young ladies and a few young men at Chicago Vocational High School, CVS. And they've kind of just laid out what they're looking forward to once they're juniors and seniors, so they're just about to come out and embark on the next phase of their lives. So, they are thinking along the lines of vocational work after high school. So, it was good to hear that at least some of them are thinking along those lines there. And not just, say, liberal arts and what have you, and then go in and, ask for a job. But the other thing, I apologize, I'm not going to be in D.C. This weekend. We are taking some young ladies and going through a self-defense class on Saturday. So, that might be something that would be helpful also. I know it sounds like you're doing more to help them be centered and calm down and reason things out versus.
Girl is a kickboxer. Mama.
Okay.
Is a kickboxer.
Okay.
She's done kickboxing with them.
they do. One of the things that we're trying to get them to understand also is like for sewing, they do sewing and they do knitting, and they see the importance of being able to do some of these things on their own. They can always do these things when they're in college if they decide to go to college. I know women who went to school and they made clothes for people. That's what they did. They did hair.
Exactly.
They did hair. They did nails. You just have to have a little hustle. Just a little hustle.
Absolutely.
And that's good for tax purposes too.
How to do it.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So, yeah.
All right. Well, Jelani said we could go over. We're not going to go over too far, Kathy, because I know you want to get your beauty rest. But if you want to talk to anybody about the health and wellness aspect, it's important because Jelani, Harambee was established based on health. And we've had a lot of health practitioners on these airways, and Jelani's son was the motivating factor for the beginning 14 years ago in 2004.
Well, my son Jay was the one that got me to doing fruits and veggies because he was doing them and bringing them into the office before we came down here. So it's always good when you have somebody in the house pushing you, and he's the reason why we're doing what we're doing. I've been gardening ever since I came down. I didn't do any gardening when I was up there. I waited to come down, and my son said, "Don't go down there and goof off and not do what you're supposed to do." Thank you, son. I'm glad you're telling me. Because he's been a veggie guy for a long time, so I'm thankful. And y'all are always talking about stuff that we need to be doing. And Single, I brought this up to you on occasion, and you have never paid me any attention. But I know dentistry like no one else, and it's on planet Earth. I know dentistry like the Egyptians knew the pyramids. And my son and daughter grew up watching and doing teeth. Now, my daughter is 42 in D.C. right now, and you may see on Saturday night, when you listen to her talk about making $300 an hour as a dental consultant, and the only thing she ever did was work for her dad, never went to school for it and don't have any degrees in it, but has 6 full-time people working for her making $300 an hour. And I'm just saying that we can't have this kind of a resource available, and I die with all this knowledge. You know, and I've been saying that I wish I would have. And I got a cousin that has a dental place in D.C. that used to work for me as a high school student that was cooking burgers when he came to work for me. And he's been in business now for over 30 years as a result of, yes, that's the first cousin. So, and I have hired so many people over the years. I have friends that their high school sons and daughters worked for me back in the day. But I really have not been able to push my agenda. I guess I really have been doing Harambee and other stuff where I just haven't got back to it. But certainly if I can find a way to make some time and able to get some of these youngsters, not necessarily to become overnight dental people, but to put it on their agenda and know that they have a resource that no matter where they go to dental school, no matter where they go, I can help them, because that's all I've been doing is getting people to. I know people that are in D.C. now that have dental practices that used to work for me that went to dental school after working for me. You know, they decided.
Delon, that's a very interesting point you just raised, because my youngest daughter has been working and doing dental stuff for the last, I think, 17 years. But anyway, that's great. We're going to talk about that, because you hit it right on the head, because you stopped doing the dentistry work, wrote a book for I must let my people know. And y'all, we just are warming up for this weekend, the 14th anniversary. But I want to also put in the mix, Kathy. Give us some ideas about the health and wellness work that you've been doing for many years. And I know we don't want to get too long into it, but I do want you to share, because you went through a healing process that is a great story, but you also help people go through healing processes, not just with their body. That you mentioned it earlier, and that's so important. So share a little bit about that health and wellness piece, and I do help Dr. Tilly Williams and Alma and everybody are with us this weekend, because we got to honor them for their work as well. But Kathy, you've been at it for a long time.
Well, I was in commercial real estate, and I was not happy with what I was seeing the firm I was with doing to the city that I grew up in. So I kind of asked Spirit to lead me to work that would be meaningful to me, that I would not feel compromised or be schizophrenic doing. So, and what came for me after 18 months of introspection was massage therapy. So this was in 1990. So I decided to go to school for massage therapy, and I did, and I cut back my hours at the firm where I was working, and eventually my practice grew that I could leave my job completely. And so I did massage, and I taught the massage school for 11 years, where I graduated. And during that process, I recognized that a lot of people's physical issues, they think they're physical, but they're really dealing with more emotional stuff. And so I decided to go to the Edgar Cayce space, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, which was founded by Edgar Cayce down in Virginia Beach, which is where I went to study hypnotherapy for behavior modification. And so I began a hypnotherapy practice along with my massage practice, and at the same time I was also doing Reiki work. And so that was the energy work. So I was dealing with both the mind, the body, and the spirit. And then after a period of time, I went on and decided to go to ministerial school, for spiritual science ministerial school, and became an ordained minister so that I could bring it all together. And a lot of it had to do with, my own healing process, what I needed for my own healing. But everybody was showing up. Everybody who shows up in your life is really just showing you a part of yourself. And so as I would work with my clients, I was able to see the parts of myself that needed work. And just like as I'm in relationship with even, you, Senghor, or anybody, I'm in a relationship with you, but really what I'm seeing is me, the things that I need to work on and the things that I have done well with. Because relationships are the classroom. That's your university right there. That's where you learn everything. And so in my practice grew, my work changed as I grew, as I changed, and as people came to me and their needs changed. And so, I've been in practice now for 25 years, and I've been able to take a lot of that into the camp. I teach the girls massage, basic hand and feet and chair massage. I teach them some basics on being still and calming their spirit, a little bit about energy. And, so it's all an evolution, it's all an evolution. We teach that which we most need to learn, I believe. So that's my experience. Mm-hmm.
All right, let me see Clyde and Jelani have any last things they want to share with your safety. You will ask you, and then we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Clyde, you still with us?
No, just wanted to thank our esteemed guests for coming off. I know you're just coming off the beach, and you can hear it.
I do hear it.
Voice.
I wish I was where you were now.
Again, please come back again.
Okay,
and,
thank you, Clyde.
We'll hear from you later on in the subsequent shows.
Okay,
so
thank you. All right, appreciate both of you all.
Well,
and you have a wonderful program.
Thank you so much. I'll see you in a few days.
I'll see you soon. All righty then.
Okay.
Be well.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.
See you in a little bit.
Okay, PG, you gone?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. It's been Black Star Line 9 time. Everybody hold up. One God, one aim.
One aim.
Destiny.
One destiny. Good night, y'all. See y'all later. Bye-bye.